This is the Ridge Hunter Outdoors podcast. Hey everybody, this is episode 17. I'm Canyon Clark here with Scott Clark and Jeff Fry. Tonight we don't really have a plan per se, like we normally do. We're not pulling out any articles or anything. Since the season is officially over Sunday, the archery season here in Illinois, some of you guys has already ended. We're going to be talking about maybe some of our favorite moments from the season. We'll kind of recap it from a hunting perspective, from the shop perspective, maybe talk about some stuff all from this year. And then we'll hit on a little bit of stuff we got going on moving forward. We got some cool stuff coming up for you guys on the podcast. We're going to have some guests on starting next week, so tune in for that. But for right now, we're just going to kick it off talking about 2021 deer season in 22, I guess, the beginning of it. But I know we've talked about it several times and on the podcast, kind of to start it. The biggest thing I noticed this year from a lot of other years is there were so many big deer that I saw killed that you don't normally see. Like last year, we had a lot of mature bucks killed, probably more than we've seen in a long time. But this year, maybe not the same number of mature bucks, but the ones that we did come in were bigger antlered, I felt like. And we hit on this a little bit before. I think it speaks a lot to the management that's going on anymore and the way guys are hunting now, as opposed to the way they used to do it.
I don't think there's any question that a lot of it has to do with management, at least in our area.
Yeah, you know, back in the day, everybody's logo was if it's brown, it's down, you know. And especially if they saw a buck, they was going to shoot it. It didn't matter what it was.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it had horns, they was going to take it out. And now everybody's more conscious about it, more aware, and they're wanting to grow bigger bucks and harvest bigger bucks. And I think we're starting to see the results of that, especially since the blue tongue outbreak back in 2012.
Yeah.
And 13, you know, we lost a lot of deer, and it kind of affected everybody and made them more aware of what was going on. And so they're letting these deer live out more to their potential, you know, and taking them then instead of just like they was before.
Right. We're 2 generations away from that.
Yeah.
As far as deer is concerned. And so you're getting into that second generation of mature bucks. I think you're right. I think it woke guys up to, after that outbreak, they weren't seeing what they thought were big bucks, and they realized what happened to them, and all of a sudden, you know, man, maybe we'll let these things grow. Let's not let this happen again. Yeah. As far as I'd like to see some big deer. Now, you want to go out there and kill a spike buck, knock yourself out. I'm not that guy. Right. I'm not gonna knock you or bash you or dish you or anything like that for killing whatever you want to kill. You bought the tag. You're going to hunt legally. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to do ethically, I don't care what you kill.
Right.
I have no issues with that at all.
Yeah, and I think that's what we talk about a lot too is if you want to do your thing, do your thing. But if you're trying to kill big deer, you know, and a lot of guys are now, and that does speak to some of the good side of those Facebook groups and TV shows. We talk about the negatives of them a lot, but there's some positive in them in that guys see what other guys are doing and having success to an extent, and they think, man, I want to do that. Or I got this ground. I can kill deer like that if I just let them go. And I was talking to a guy on the phone that we're going to be working with coming up, and he said and it's where it starts is he, you know, figured it out himself. He was shooting a lot of young deer, and he's kind of, as a deer hunter, got past that point now, and he's wanting to kill more mature deer. So he knows, he's figured out that the first step to that is, okay, I got to let that 3-year-old 140-inch, 150-inch buck go if I want to kill a 180-inch, 200-inch, potentially 200-inch deer. You got to let those young bucks go, and that's where a lot of it starts.
But also, on the flip side of that, you know, if a 140-inch deer is your target buck or your personal best or whatever, well, then don't feel like you can't shoot that deer, you know, because of what
what everybody else will say about you.
What everybody else will say about you. You know, if that's your personal best and that's the deer you want, then by all means take him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't put that pressure on yourself. I fell victim to that back before I quit hunting for a while, you know, and I ended up with a lot of empty tags and a lot of frustrated deer seasons, you know, and I got burnt out on it, actually.
I think every deer hunter goes through that too, and even if it's not where they're, like you're saying, pressuring themselves to shoot something, and I think a lot of us go through that too, but you start shooting, okay, this year I've never shot a 140-inch deer. If it's 140 inches, I'm killing it, 130, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Well, after you get a couple of those up on the wall under your belt, then you start thinking, you know, I'd like to have something a little bigger than that. So then you kind of, and maybe you don't, maybe you just think that's the kind of deer I want to kill, I'm going to kill it, which is fine too, but I think a lot of guys in their maturing as a deer hunter, okay, I've killed a few of those now, so I'm going to look for something bigger.
Well, yeah, I think the hunter matures along with the herd. Mm-hmm. Even let's just go back 5 years. 5 years ago, 160 around here anyway. Now I'm speaking for where are we at, Kansas?
Yeah.
Right. I'm speaking for us. 5 years ago, 160 was something you're going to put on the wall, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, 5 years gone by, hunters have got those 160s on the wall. Some of them do. Now they're going, you know, what about the 180s? And now you're starting to see, you know, we've seen some 200s this year, whereas before you might see a 200. Now we're seeing multiple 200s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like my personal record. You know, I've got anywhere from minimum, 125 inch up to 160, 170.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay, I got those on the wall, and I don't feel like mounting 10 more 150 inch deer,
right?
You know, or whatever, especially the cost of taxidermy nowadays. But you know, I keep trying to improve and mature, and as a hunter, and you know, okay, I got 170 inch buck on the wall. Okay, I'm not going to shoot anything less than 180.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I put that on myself. And it's not, when you get to that point, you're not really ending your year frustrated if you don't shoot 170 or 100, you know, whatever goal you set for yourself. You know, you're not frustrated. Actually, you feel more rewarded that, hey, I didn't see what I was wanting to shoot. You know, I saw some deer that was below that, and I let them go so that way they can grow, and maybe next year I can reach my target.
Yeah, you're not defining your success or failure based on shooting a 180-inch deer. Which is another thing I wanted to get into is about, like, this year, for us individually, I didn't kill the deer I was after this year. I had one.
Oh, I didn't either.
I had one iffy chance at him, and I didn't feel good about it, so I didn't shoot. And at the time, could I have shot him? I probably could have. If I had a rangefinder, I probably would have. But at the time, I did not feel good about it because I didn't have my rangefinder with me, and I wasn't exactly sure how far he was. And I mean, that doesn't bother me now because I would rather do that and have him still be out there than shoot him bad, miss him, and run him off, that kind of stuff. But I know, like you said, you didn't kill your target buck either, but I still don't think either of us had failures of seasons. Same way with you. I know you didn't get to go as much as you wanted, but the 2021-22 season, from your perspective, I don't know, you posted on Facebook a little bit about it, but what kind of maybe sticks out to you from this year? And I know part of it's probably going to be just getting back into hunting for you some, but.
Yeah, you know, I posted on Facebook on our post Southern Illinois Deer Hunters on our group there. You know, I took about a 6-year break for personal reasons and stuff, and you got me back into it. This whole Bridge Hunter Outdoors and all that, it got me back into it.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, this has been one of the best years that I've had in a long time. And not just for hunting, but as far as personal growth and everything and relearning and that. And I don't know, it's just like I had that target buck, you know, he wasn't a big buck, probably 140 inch, 8-pointer.
Was that 4-corn?
No, is that drop tine.
Oh,
You know, and I had him at 25 yards. And like you said, I didn't have a good clear shot. I didn't feel comfortable with it. And it was only for just a few seconds anyway, at most. But I was there. I had him there.
Yeah.
And I let him go and didn't even try to attempt the shot. And I haven't seen him since. He ain't been on camera. And that was before shotgun season. I haven't had him on camera since then. I don't know if the deer's still alive or not, but I still feel good knowing that I didn't take the shot and I didn't risk injuring that deer. Or
he's whiffed out and they've never been around since.
No, probably.
I mean, no sign, no
No.
hit. He's far enough away from the shop that even if somebody ethically killed him, we may or may not have heard about it. I mean, it's possible he could have been taken. It's possible he could have been. He's still out there. We really don't know because we've not seen him either dead or alive, or even heard about him.
Yeah. I had several pictures of him or videos of him off my camera, and I only saw him on the hoof alive in person
That one time.
For like a 10-second.
Yeah.
You didn't get his autograph?
No.
Yeah.
Would like to, but not. But just the fact that being there and seeing that and having that opportunity, and it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of got everything back in perspective for me. And not only with the deer, I've had, I know you give me crap about it all the time. And you're right. I should have bought that $5 turkey tag.
I tried to get you to. No, I won't see any turkeys this year.
I won't see no turkeys. Every time I went, I had gobblers with 16-inch beards and 4-inch spurs walking past me.
I know what tape measure you're using.
Well, I'm the one. The one I give all the girls.
Right.
But and seeing all that and just getting excited about it, and it's like, I was really kicking myself in the butt the other day when them dudes walked out there and there I was, waiting for the game warden to jump out in a ghillie suit and put his ticket book in hand, So had to let him go, but it's been a really good year. I've really enjoyed it. I've passed on deer that, a few people probably would have shot, and I wouldn't blame them if they did. Hunting a new property, that's always fun to me. Trying to learn the property and pattern the deer and figure it out and then make plans for next year. Okay, where do I want to put stands at? Because this year I was just hunting on the ground. Yeah. I didn't have no stands up. So now I got a plan for next year where I want to put stands, maybe put a food plot.
Well, that property has potential, doesn't it?
It does have potential.
Real, right there next to the with that public ground.
Yeah. I mean, and that's another thing everybody talks about, public ground. There's good deer on public ground. I don't care what you say. There's good deer there.
Here's a little sneak peek. I think we're probably going to talk about some public land stuff next week with our guest too. So that'll be interesting.
Because does he hunt next to me?
No.
Oh, well, okay.
No, he's from out in Pennsylvania. So he does a lot of public land and bigwood stuff. But
Pennsylvania's a long way from Kansas.
Yeah. But I thought it'd be good because you hunt next to public for one thing, but we don't do a lot of public land hunting as a group. It'd be cool to get another perspective on it and what he's doing this time of year as far as hunting and all that.
And I'm not actually, before, when the rut was at its intensity, I got to go just a little bit because we was busy up here at the shop, but I tried to go a few times. And I really believe, even though I was hunting, within feet of state public ground, if I was in a position where, I could hunt through the whole rut leading up to shotgun season, I could have taken that deer that I was wanting, and maybe even one even bigger and better.
Right.
They're there. It's just you gotta know how to hunt around, and that's another thing with hunting public ground. You gotta know how to hunt around everybody else that's hunting there.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about that piece is it almost just expands the property you're hunting and the habitat, because really from what you saw and what we saw, there's not a ton of use on that piece until shotgun weekend, or maybe right peak of the rut. So you've got a good month and a half where you've just extended. I mean, you're hunting on that piece beside it, but you've extended your acreage to all that public piece because there's not a lot of pressure over there.
Right. The only unknown is how many people are actually scouting that or walking in and out prior to in hours that you're not there, if they're doing what they're doing and going when they should be going. But speaking of that, earlier, last week we got a decent buck in. It was a late season buck, and he was rutting, wasn't he, Jeff?
Oh yeah, he's still full rut.
His neck was swelled up, and it wasn't like you walked in the back room and thought, "Man, there's a big old rutting buck here." But when you got close, I mean, Jeff, was you 15, 20 feet away from him?
About 20 feet away from him.
And he says, "That buck's is still in rut, isn't he?" And I'm cutting off legs and getting everything to hang him up. I said, "Yeah, he's there."
Still smelling from the second rut, or maybe he's still poking around at some other
whatever the case was. He was still there. He was.
Here we are in January, and he was still, his neck was swelled up big, and he still had that smell to him.
A guy just showed me a picture the other day, and maybe they were just messing around, but 2 mature bucks fighting right in front of his camera. And I mean, it ain't like they were just squaring up and kind of, barely going at each other. They look like they were pretty locked together in the picture. So I think there's definitely some of it that still goes on depending on the area and depending on your doe herd.
I think this was, 130 something?
Yeah.
I don't know that he went 140. Yeah. If you're out there after a late season deer.
It's a nice buck for this time of year.
Yeah, no doubt. But I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from the guy that harvested him.
No, you're talking about deer. Being in rut reminded me of that deer coming in.
And he said out there that Friday morning when it was like 5 degrees outside with a wind chill of 20 below. I know because I was at work that day. And it was cold. And
he actually only hunted about an hour. Then he's from out of state, come into a property that he had permission to hunt for that particular weekend. So he was going to get out there and try to hunt and get his money's worth. And he just couldn't take it that morning. Wind slowed down, sun came out, temperature warmed up, and he killed it that afternoon. But it was rut, no doubt about it. And
which back it's been a minute or two, but when we started having that late season doe only here in Illinois and Wayne County and stuff. You can hunt them with shotguns and stuff. I assume you still can.
In certain counties.
Yeah, we don't have that in this county now. But I remember going and back behind the house, actually on the creek behind the house, and there was 3 young does come out. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a couple of them. I had 2 tags. I think I'll take both of them does and be done. And just about the time I was getting ready to shoot one of them, here come a big mature buck grunting, and he was tracking them does up, and he went out there in the field and started chasing them around and stuff, and this was mid-January.
Well, you know what happened?
So it still goes on.
Oh, yeah. I think that's doe dependent.
And
either does that didn't take or that come back in, or maybe late fawns that are only coming in for the first time.
That's what I was going to say. These young does I seen were actually that year's does.
Yeah.
I'd
that
say
would be coming in late.
That was their first season of coming in.
See, back in, I don't know how many years ago it's been now, that late season first started, there were several guys in this area and obviously statewide that wanted a pistol season in Illinois. And they petitioned the legislature to get a pistol season in Illinois. Well, at the time, the head of the conservation department, and I can't recall his name right now, he was against it. He didn't think we needed a pistol season in Illinois. But there was enough petitions and enough interest and money. Obviously, they were going to buy permits, that the legislature passed legislation to have a pistol season in Illinois, but they left it up to the director of the IDNR to say when it was. So him being I don't want this anyway, I'm going to throw this in the middle of January when it's freaking snowing and icing and it's always below zero.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. So that's why that late season, as we call it now, or the third firearm, or it morphed into CWD and all those kind of things, that actually started as a pistol-only season because the IDNR director was pissed off at the hunters that forced him to have one.
Yeah.
And the first couple years, it was pistol only. It was like the Wild West. Guys are going out there, strapped on and legs and 44s as long as
Thompson Contenders.
Oh,
was
yeah.
the big gun.
Yeah, and then you change the barrels on them and all that.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, the first 2 seasons, there was like an ice storm during one of them, and the other one was like snow and 2 below zero, and guys were out there blasting away because that's what they wanted to do with their pistols. And it's morphed since then.
We lost a good friend during that one time.
Yeah, yeah.
1 year.
Yep.
I was back to kind of the 20.
Lindy
Jones. Yeah.
The 21, 22 season. I wanted to hit on maybe some of our favorite moments from it. And for me, first of all, like for the season, I felt like even not shooting a buck, this is one of the better seasons I've had because I can't remember messing up a target buck this year or a lot of deer in general. I think
that says something for you.
I think I was.
There's a lot of bucks around my house walking around.
Only one.
Some wounds.
Only one around your house.
Scars.
Only one. I missed the other one.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I thought I hunted probably as smart this year as I had in a long time. Even though I didn't get to go as much as I did, I felt like I went on the better days like we talked about. And we hit on it a little bit last week. Part of it's because of this podcast, and we started it really to help other guys learn, but heck, I'm selfish. I want to learn, be a better hunter too. So the stuff we've been reading and the research I've been doing for this and all this has helped me. So I felt like from that point of view, I had as good a season as I've had, even though I only had that one opportunity at that, mature buck that I would have wanted to shoot. But probably my favorite hunt, like I said, I didn't have as many as I wanted. Most of them were October, early November till we got real busy up here. And then late season, again, getting busy, but was when we all got to go hunt that new property with you.
All 3 of us, yeah.
And we hadn't done that in years.
Yep.
And you guys saw 1 deer between the 2 of you.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything.
I don't think he saw it. I told him she was coming. But I knew she was going to blow him big time.
Oh, she did.
Between the 3 of us, we saw 1 deer, and I saw 3 of your turkeys that I didn't get a shot at because I had my turkey tag.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So naturally, they don't walk by me at 20 yards.
It worked out well for you, too, didn't it?
Yeah. So
if it had walked by me, I might have had his turkey tag.
Yeah. But that was probably one of my favorite hunts from this year, just because we all got to go and shoot the crap on the way there, and then we
was out there texting each other and taking pictures and stuff.
Didn't we have to somebody drive back to where we were parked that night as well?
Yeah, I believe I did.
That's what I thought.
Because it seems to me like we got back to my house and everybody was putting all their gear up, and somebody realized that they forgot their red arrows.
Must have been the 4th guy that was with us.
Could have been. One of us was up there getting phone calls. Hey, I killed a deer. Well, Jesus, I'd like to if you'd quit calling me while I'm in the tree stand.
My brother-in-law killed a nice buck that night. I was FaceTiming him, trying to tell him where to stop on gutting the deer so he could mount it while we were running down the road to go back to get my arrows. That was kind
first
of
you just tried to
Charlie
describe it to him on the phone. I'm like, just FaceTime him so we can tell him.
She called me on FaceTime. His wife did, and we finally figured it out. He did a good job. So
yes, he did.
He got it done.
I got like 2 or 3.
Found your arrows.
Yeah, right where I left them.
Exactly where you said they was.
I got like 2 or 3 phone calls on the tree stand, and this guy's called me and he's breaking up, and he's a good customer, been a customer for years. He said, I killed a deer. I said, okay. And I said, well, just call me when you get to town. Okay. Well, he calls me about 4 minutes later. Well, what I didn't realize was he's at the curve north of town because I couldn't hear him. He said, I'm here. He's kind of laughing. Oh, okay. Give me a minute.
Or 30.
Yeah. That's the stuff where I'm a little bit envious of those guys that are not necessarily in the industry or in the processing business, where they have a deer camp and they have a different job, which 90% of the time it works out better for me because I get to go hunting probably more than those guys. But for that week or 2 a year where they get to take their vacation and they go with all their buddies and they have their hunting cabin on their property and they go out and hunt and do the hunt camp thing and come back and drink some man-sodies and play cards and whatever at night and all that good stuff. That's part of that I'm envious of.
I understand that. And I talked to a customer, actually it was during the rut, right before shotgun season. I was unloading these deer for him. And I asked him, I said, how's the deer moving? And he was going on, oh, they're moving great. Bucks chasing does everywhere. And I said, man, I wish you wouldn't tell me that because I'm here. And He said, well, he said, you choose your profession.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He said, if you're going to run a bait shop, you ain't going to be able to
can't
go fish.
Yep, that's
you
right.
know. And if you're going to run a deer shop, you're not going to be able to go deer hunting when you want to.
Right.
And it kind of brought things back down to earth for me. It's like, this is the profession we've chose.
Yeah.
This is what, we do.
We can go catfishing when we want to in the summertime.
That's right.
Yep. And that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
It is. It's absolutely a trade-off.
Yep.
Well, when I sold the pro shop over there at Heartland Archery, I sold it to a guy, and I said, listen, you can't go hunting when you want to.
Right.
You can go hunting when you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely a trade-off, no question.
And, Scott, when me and you was younger and stuff, we would break away.
Well, we were in a position that Canyon's in now.
Right. We could
My
break
dad
away.
was at the shop,
And he
so
knew
I could break away.
He knew that he needed to let us break away, or we was going to drive him nuts.
So I'm at the shop
more than what we
so
normally
Canyon breaks away.
Yeah.
Because there's someone here.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at now.
Right.
Is where he's at now is where we were at 30 or 20 something years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is part of the reason that, in all honesty, I started this business. And there are a lot of things that went into it, but where we do most of our work, or I would do most of the stuff in the springtime, and then
During turkey season.
July and August.
And catfish season.
Yep. And then,
what I'm doing during catfish season?
I'm fishing. I don't know what you're
Catfishing.
doing.
And
That's
then-
what I'm doing.
all the consulting, most of the consulting happens right after the season because no one wants to walk the property during the season. So it leaves me open when we get to the point where I'm not up here all the time. It leaves me open to hunt October, November, and then I can still go do this other stuff the other time of year. The trade-off in that is I'm not always available to go fishing in the springtime. But
exactly.
to me, I would still rather go hunting than I would go catfishing. Not that I dislike either one of them, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, but you just got to.
and I still
You
get to
choose
go.
your profession.
I still get to go. I feel like probably more than most guys. I get to go down to the river and bank pole and run trot lines more than a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining by any means. It's just like you said, there's trade-offs
There is.
for everything, and that's one of them. But
As the older you get, the more trade-offs there is. It seems like.
It seems that way.
You know, but the older you get and stuff, you realize there's more meaning to it and more behind it.
yeah,
Your responsibility not only to yourself and your family, but to your customers and everything else. And so it's just yeah.
and that gets back to what we were talking about originally, is appreciating, number one, the time you do have in the woods, and number two, what you get done while you're there.
And I think that is the biggest part of the trade-off, is whenever you do get to go, then you sit back and you reflect and you enjoy it more.
I leave your phone at home.
Yeah.
Or with your wife or girlfriend
Whatever,
or whatever.
I wasn't going to talk about this, but I will now because this kind of leads up to it. But I made a post tonight on our page, Southern Illinois Deer Hunters, and I asked people, what was your favorite part of this deer season, and what did you learn from it, and stuff. And the main trend, there wasn't people talking about, hey, I killed this 170-inch buck,
right,
and all this. No, nobody was bragging about that. Everybody that responded on there was talking about, I got to spend time with my son. I got to spend time with my grandson, my granddaughter. One guy said, my dad's been ill. This may be the last year I get to spend with him. And,
right.
We went out and hunted. And that just brings it all into perspective.
Puts it all in perspective for sure. Yeah.
It's not just about killing a big buck, as our sport. And, it's about sharing our sport with those that we love and are friends with.
And if killing that big buck's your favorite part of the season, that's cool too.
Yeah,
I totally understand that.
I understand that, and that's what I was getting at. I was leaning in my post. I was leaning, okay, what was your favorite part? What happened? That you learned something and can share it with us. And everybody responded back, I got to spend time with my kids or my loved ones. And
Yeah.
You know, that's I don't know. Maybe like I was telling you, maybe Scott, that maybe the corona and stuff that we've been through, maybe that's one good thing about it.
I've been through more blue ribbon than I have corona.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. I just
maybe all that we went through last year and stuff brought everybody kind of back into perspective as far as maybe that's the one good thing that's come out of this.
And I think that's a part of our industry or the sport of hunting that needs to get shared more, that doesn't get shared as much as the loudmouths that are out there bashing people for shooting spike bucks and 3-year-old deer and all that. Those guys are generally the loudest, just like any other part of life. Yeah. But I think it's good that there's guys discussing that and bringing it up to the surface, because that's a big part of it.
Yeah. I don't have any kids of my own, but I have a lot of stepkids. Mm-hmm. And every one of my stepkids ever wanted to go hunting, I took them hunting or fishing, whatever.
Right.
And I'm not in close contact with any of them. Hell, I got 10 of them. But
comes with the territory.
Yeah, but they all at some point in their life they've reached back out to me. Hey, I remember when you took me hunting. I remember when you took me fishing. I remember when we did this and when we did that. And most of them are adults with kids of their own now.
Yeah,
but they still remember that. So, it makes me think. Hey, if nothing else, I planted a seed there, and now I'm getting to watch that seed grow.
Oh, yeah.
And that is more rewarding to me than any 200. I could have a wall full of 200-inch bucks, and it wouldn't mean as much to me as that right there.
Yeah.
I've been in it long enough now. I'm seeing grandkids.
Yeah.
But when I first got into it, I seen dads and kids, and a lot of the kids were preteen. Mm-hmm. And they would get them into hunting, get them into shooting, get them into archery when we had the pro shop.
Right.
And then usually when they would get to their upper teens, a lot of them would get away from it because they had a lot of other things on their mind besides shooting deer, shooting bows.
Well, they're shooting something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Blanks, hopefully.
But some of them, not always.
Yeah.
But at any rate, almost all of them came back at some point in their life, whether it was after they got married or after they settled down or maybe after they got divorced, whatever the case was. And then they started bringing their kids in. And so, yeah, you can plant that seed and it always grows. Very, very few people very, very few men and a few women brought their kids in. Their kids didn't come back to it at some point in their life. Maybe not full bore, maybe not like we're into it,
right?
But they all got into it and they all stayed in it. Yeah. And most of those people, those aren't the people that you see in jail. Those aren't the people that you read about in the column in the paper. Just generally pretty good citizens, really.
Yeah.
And that's
it goes back to what we've always heard and taught in Sunday schools: you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. And if you sow that seed as far as hunting, religious, whatever.
Well, hunting comes responsibility,
right?
Ethnicity,
teaches values,
values, ethics. All that comes along with hunting,
and it will come back eventually.
It's all whether you're teaching somebody ethics about hunting or ethics about life. It's the same thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Values of hunting, values of life. It's the same thing.
Yep.
What do you value? What's your responsibilities as a hunter? Your responsibilities as a man?
Right.
Same thing.
Yep. It's even if they don't come back to the hunting part of that. There's a lot of guys that you listen to talk about. Well, they went to church when they were a kid, and maybe they've got away from religion for whatever reason that they have, but
that seed was planted, and
they still came from a community of ethics and morals, moral and values and stuff. So they have that, and they're good people.
Right.
It's the same thing with hunting. Even if maybe they don't come back to hunting, then they still have that foundation of like everything you're talking about. But back to, I want to hit on that first. Even if you don't have kids of your own or grandkids, whether it be a stepkid or a cousin or a nephew, if you got somebody out there,
or even just some kid that needs somebody to mentor them.
Yeah, take them hunting.
Yeah. Hunting, fishing.
I owe
get
a
them out
lot
in the outdoors and get them active.
I owe a lot of where I'm at now as a hunter and the passion I have for it to you guys and Uncle Rod, because even when you couldn't take me hunting, Rod was here and he'd take me to the cabin and sit with me and freeze our butts off and watch me miss deer all afternoon, or take me out there behind the slaughterhouse. And when you couldn't go, that when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, if you got that 9 or 10-year-old kid, 11, 12, whatever it is, they can't take themselves hunting necessarily. Even if you think they might, even if they seem like they might not enjoy it, man, get them out there and let them decide for themselves, because I think you'll be surprised more often than not. They're going to have fun. Even if it's just the experience of being out there hanging out with their uncle or their dad or their stepdad or their cousin or whatever.
You don't understand how fortunate you are to have Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a god. Rod is a godsend. Rod's a good guy.
I remember
he's your uncle, and he's done a lot for you, done a lot with you.
Mm-hmm. I owe a lot to him, not just hunting wise, but in everything. But he, as much as anybody, has kind of driven my passion for the outdoors, taking me fishing and taking me hunting when you couldn't always, because he was at work, and being there and doing that kind of stuff. And he didn't even start till he was in his 20s.
Right.
He's not one of those guys that came up hunting with his old man. I think maybe they squirrel hunted and rabbit hunted a little bit when they were younger.
Maybe.
But, he was never a deer hunter till he got in his 20s and started doing it myself. But then he saw that he enjoyed it, and thought, well, maybe, And at the time when I already was interested in it because being around the shop, and you did it, and Grandpa and all that. But, he helped progress me along and all that.
I think a lot of Rodney started with fishing, because me and him we started bass fishing together before either one of us had our driver's license.
Right.
Him and your grandpa and your mom and them would come out to our house, and me and Rodney get our bicycles, and we'd take off with our fishing poles and go fishing all day long. So I think that's what got started. But you was talking about all that, and I remember the day I took you deer hunting, and you killed your first buck.
First buck with a bow, yeah.
Yep. I took you in there, and I said, Canyon, this is where they're going to go. You need to set up somewhere in this area right here. They're going to walk right by you. I said, there's a real nice, small, young 10-pointer. I said, he's not that big, but he'll be a real nice buck one of these days. I said, if you can shoot any other deer, shoot it and let him go. But if you shoot him, that's okay. And so there we was. It was colder than the dickens that day.
Yeah, because we went the day before. The floodwaters had come out and froze.
Yeah.
In the place we were in.
Yeah.
So we went to a different place.
Freaking cold. And
it was December, right? Late December?
Yeah, every bit of late December, almost early January.
That's what I was thinking.
And so, I seen deer walking through, and we had our phones.
Getting close to dark.
Yeah, it was almost dark, and I texted Canyon, hey, deer coming your way. And he's like, I don't see them. I'm like, well, they're coming your way. And so I just sat there waiting. Pretty soon I heard thump, and then I heard deer take off and crash. I was like, okay. And then Canyon's like, oh, I got one and stuff. And then a few minutes.
The text I sent you was, I got one. I think he was a pretty good 8.
Yeah, pretty good 8. Yeah. He was every bit of an 8.
Yep.
A couple more.
Yeah. After,
right.
And I was all excited for him. I didn't care. And we got over and we tracked it up. And, he was beside himself. And I loved every second of it. We tracked him up. And I'm like, yeah, he's every bit of an 8. I think he's the one I said that, hey, if you can let him go, let him go. But hell, I didn't care. It was worth it.
It's hanging on the wall.
It's hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
We drug that sucker out. Not only was that the first time that he killed a buck, but it's the first time he drove a pickup truck.
Yeah.
That distance by myself anyway.
Yeah.
Was that deer at the slaughterhouse? Was that a buck or was that a button?
That was
buck?
a button buck.
That was a buck. So it wasn't the first buck.
The
very first buck, his grandpa brought the lawnmower out because he wasn't going to walk that far.
Tied a rope around him and drug him out. And you know what I told Rodney? I said, I killed a buck so big, Grandpa had to get the tractor out here to drag it back to the house.
It was a Murray tractor.
Yard tractor.
Yard tractor.
I got pictures somewhere still of your 10-pointer on the back of the 4-wheeler.
Yep.
And, my truck set up so high that I wasn't about to try to load the 4-wheeler on.
That was your little short bed.
Yep.
Yep.
I wasn't about to try to load the 4-wheeler in the truck with the deer on the back of it.
Which had needed aligned for like 3 years. It was not the easiest truck to drive.
No, it just needed new ball bearing or ball joints.
Upper, lower, ARs, tie rods.
Yeah. But anyways, so we threw the deer in the back of the truck, and I looked at Canyon, and I said, "You ready?" And I could tell he's like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "You're going to drive my pickup truck to the house with the deer, and I'm going to be in front of you with 4-wheeler." And it was so freaking
That was a
cold.
warm ride back, wasn't it?
It was for you. It wasn't for me.
It wasn't even warm in that truck. I can't imagine the 4-wheeler all the way back.
But yeah, I remember every detail of that day. That was one of my most favorite hunts ever.
I think that's the only buck that I've shot with a bow that I've watched. That's not completely true. I did spine shoot one. The only one that I've shot one time, I watched him fall from the stand. I think he went like 40 yards or something.
Yeah, he didn't go very far.
Heart shot him, but yeah, to quote the old Rutster, didn't go 20.
Didn't go 20.
But yeah, that was for sure one of my favorites, obviously, because everybody remembers their first buck.
Oh, yeah.
First buck with a bow. The first buck I ever shot was with Rod, Missouri youth season. Shot up that forkhorn that's in there, that Euro mount.
No.
But that was my first buck with a bow. Like you said, I still remember that to this day. I probably never will forget it.
And I every time we go hunting, I'll always remind myself, whatever you do, don't tell Canyon what deer not to shoot.
Because you know what'll happen. He'll walk by.
You can tell him, just say, do not shoot it. Don't give him the option. Just do not shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But you was with me whenever I killed my first deer ever with bow. That little doe, remember? Back there.
Where were we at?
We was north of the Coon Club.
Yeah.
And I killed that little doe, and I didn't get to kill the hell bitch that I wanted to kill.
You killed her daughter, though. You got her.
I killed her daughter.
Yeah.
I shut that genetics down as quick as I could. But, where it went from there, I don't know. But, still, I was proud of that deer. That was the first deer I'd been hunting for like 4 or 5 years.
I don't know.
And back then, I started hunting in 85.
That's like the first year me and you hunted, though, right?
Yeah. I started hunting in 85, with Jerry Wilson. And that was with a recurve. Then I got one of them. I remember getting one of them cheap PSEs at Walmart for $75, and you know what they was like. Not a whole hell of a lot more than a recurve.
Right.
And then we got me that Browning.
Yeah, whole Browning setup.
Yeah. And so anyways, I killed that doe with that, and I was so proud of it. And it was during farming season. And remember, you was with me. We left there, went to our house to show it to Mom and Dad. Mom was out on the tractor in the field, and Dad was in the pickup truck, and showed up there, and Dad jumped my ass because I wasn't out there helping Mom. Remember that?
I actually don't remember that. I don't.
Boy, I remember that to this day.
I'm sure you do, right?
I mean, I was so proud of that deer, and instead of Dad saying, "Oh, good job," you need to get that son of a bitch taken care of and get out there on the tractor and help your mom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the first deer I ever shot.
The pizza deer.
No, it was not the first deer. It was one of the first deer. I was with Richard, and Canyon was a little shaver, and he hadn't quite started school yet. And so I shot this deer, and we knew where it was at. We'd tracked it up, but we had to come to town to either get rid of our equipment to go get the deer or get a truck or something, because we used to take Richard's little Omni, which was a whole nother story.
Yeah.
We had a buck in that one time, by the way.
I'm sure you did.
Anyway, we went home and got Canyon, and it was before he started school. I said, "Hey, you want to help us track this deer?" Man, he was ready to go. And he tracked it up, and we found it.
I don't remember that.
We'd already found it, but boy, you talk about high stepping in the woods now. Oh, yeah. I bet Richard remembers. Yeah. I remember.
I don't remember You'd already found it, but you was letting him find it.
Oh, yeah.
And just kind of pointing him
we were
in the
tracking.
right direction.
We were blood tracking.
Yeah.
Blood trailing, yeah.
I remember shooting. I remember us going and shooting one that we didn't end up finding, but there were 2 things I remember from the cabin that, well, I remember a lot of them, but sticking out really. There was one deer that was coming along the fence row, and we were sitting underneath of where we eventually put the homemade stand. And
I know where you're going.
Yeah, you said, "Don't move. There's a big buck coming." So I went this. I tucked my head under my arms, and I didn't move. I was under the blind.
He didn't see your eyes, did he?
We were in a blind because he couldn't see him anyway. I just didn't.
We
want
had
him
that little ground blind, that little 2-foot half blind or
Yeah.
whatever it is. So I just tucked down, and then I hear him shoot, and he said, "Did you see him?" I was like, "No, I wasn't looking. You told me not to move." He said, "Oh, you could have looked at him." So, well, I missed him. He was farther than you thought he was or something.
I don't
missing
remember
him. But
what it
anyways,
was,
I just remember tucking my head under there, and no, I didn't move a muscle. I was not messing that up.
I remember that hunt.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I thought, I'll see him after he shoots him. It'll be fine. And then the other one, we were in the buddy stand, and a smaller buck had come through, and U-turned, and he got broadside, I don't know, 20 yards or so. Anyway, and shot him, and you hit him back. I said, "Did you get her?" He said, "Yeah, I think so, but it wasn't her." I didn't even realize it was a buck. I was like, "What?" But that one we actually didn't end up finding. But and then there was another one we shot, and we were in the homemade blind that time, and I was sitting down with my little Bowtech. What was the name of that thing? It was a little youth Bowtech bow.
Right.
I can't remember the name of it now, and you were sitting where you were supposed to be, and I was sitting like butt down, legs out, kind of underneath your legs in that stand, so I couldn't get up. But these 2 little smaller deer walked right underneath of us, where I could have shot them had I been paying attention. But anyway, they got back out around us, and you shot that one, and we tracked it all the way to the neighbor's fence, and didn't find it. And we came back later, and it was thrown over the fence. What was left of it, where the neighbor
that was our good neighbor that we couldn't get on, right?
Yeah, the neighbor had skinned it out and cleaned it and threw it back. But
That was nice of him.
yeah, those are 3 hunts. That
It was
really
kind of
stick out.
special, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that was a lot of
But
fun
because
hunting and all that.
because I didn't get those opportunities. I'm like, Richard and I could have got that deer. We knew where it was at. We could have, but I thought, you know what, this is a great time for Canyon, and you. I don't. I didn't think you'd forget that. You don't remember it, but it's fine. I
must have been really young.
You were not in kindergarten. You were 4 years old because it was during school because your sister was in school.
Yeah,
so you were like 4.
And I get that. And it's like
but it doesn't mean that wasn't something that like.
Oh yeah,
like I can't remember.
Oh,
it,
you were shitting in tall cotton that day. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
But that's like with my stepkids, my first set of stepkids, and that, yeah.
I remember.
It's just they may not remember some of it, a lot of it, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
And
it doesn't mean it's not in there somewhere.
Yeah, and like I said, I can think of one of the hunts that I took my first stepkids to, and Devin was sitting. He was just a little shit, and he was sitting on the ladder stand with me between my feet, and down there in the Bowes timber. And I had a deer come up, and I shot it. The snow was on the ground and everything else, and I shot it, and I couldn't find it. And so I went and found George Woods. I said, "George, come help me track this deer, see if we can find it." I said, "I shot a doe." And Devin was trudging along right behind me and George, and hell, he wasn't but 8 years old at the time, if that. And George hollered out, "Hey, what'd you say you killed?" And I said, "Well, I shot a doe." And he said, "Well, that doe growed horns and's got some balls on it."
Yeah.
It turned out to be, a little 6-pointer, but,
Right.
at that time, I didn't care. And so now I still get Devin on Facebook, and, that's been, my God, what's that been, Scott?
Oh my Lord,
30 years ago?
yeah, probably
A long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a young,
Yeah.
he's a man, and got his
Right.
own family and stuff, and he'll still send me pictures of, hey, Jeff, look at these geese I killed, look at this deer I killed, and stuff. And that's the only time I'll hear from him is during hunting season.
Right.
But
I remember one story you tell about your the most recent stepkid when you guys were coyote hunting.
Oh yeah, we I let him shoot the 270 some, let him get familiar with it and that's where I was working at the hog farm, and he got pretty good with it. I'll give him that, and he was in his teens, and anyways, I'd get these stillborns, and, from the hogs, we'd just throw them out. So I'd get 5-gallon buckets full of them. I know this sounds gross on podcasts and stuff, but this reality, let's just keep it real. I'd get these 5-gallon buckets of these fetuses, and I'd take them out there and pile them up in front of a deer stand that I had, a box blind. And so anyways, I let that go on for about 3 or 4 weeks. And finally, it was a cold, snowy day morning. And I got his butt up at, before daylight.
Yeah.
And we loaded up and we went over. And the plan was I was going to shoot the 270. He was going to shoot his muzzleloader.
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, we're sitting in this box blind heater going, and just right at daylight, here comes 3 coyotes in, and they start feeding. Well, he couldn't get his muzzleloader to work. I'm like, here, I wanted him to shoot a coyote. So I was like, here, take the 270. I'll take the muzzleloader. I'll get this cap in there. Well, of course, I've got this single-shot muzzleloader opener. I try and put the cap in. It falls out on the floor and rattling, banging around. The coyotes are looking up there at us and stuff, and he's got the gun out the window, and he's barreled down. And he's like, well, are you ready? I'm like, no, I'm trying to find this cap. And he's like, well, they're going to leave. I'm saying, you know what? Just let them have it.
Yeah.
And so he did. He shot it. The first one, dropped it dead in his tracks right there. And the other 2 took off, and I told him, shoot again, go after the other one. Well, he was so excited about the first one, he just let go. But, one shot, one kill at 100 yards, on a coyote. I was proud as hell of him.
Yeah. Those were your hand loads, weren't they?
Yeah, those were my hand loads. Yeah, it was 90 grain hollow points and loaded with 53 grains of IMR 450 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They was
or whatever it was.
Yeah, they was right there at max.
Yeah. Coming out pretty hot.
Yeah, they was coming out hot. 0 at 100 was 0 at 300.
Yeah.
And that's
straight shooting.
Yeah. You won't get that out of your factory loads. But anyways. But still, it's just the idea, I may not have been there for his first deer kill, but we still had, and he still reminds me of it, pops up on your Facebook memories and shit, and he brings that up all the time.
This little turd here, one time, we had
There's someone behind me?
No, that's you.
Okay.
I said when you were little, we had the techno hunt in the archery shop, where you shot the screen and the animals come across and all that. And so he was used to coming up the archery and watching guys shoot the screen with their bows and arrows, and you put in blunts and everything like that. Well, we're at home, and we bought him this little, like the Walmart Indian archery. It's got the red bow and the string and the little arrows that have the blunt points on them. They're like fiberglass, like 18 inches long. You couldn't shoot from here to the end of your shoe. Well, he had one of them when he's like 3 or 4 years old. And so he's dinking around the archery because he's around the shop all the time. He brings it up when his mother brings him up to this shop, and he sees us and everything. So we're home one day, and I forget what we were doing, but he's in the room watching hunting videos because at that time you had a VHS and you had the videos. And so Canyon was just immersed in these hunting videos. That's all he wanted to watch was hunting videos, even when he was 3 or 4 years old. So he's in there, and me and his mother's in the other room or something, and all of a sudden I hear this tink, tink, tink. What the hell is going on? What the hell is that? And I walk in there, and this little turd is shooting a TV, because it's not like the flat screens we have now. This was a glass tube TV, the old big tube TVs. He's in there shooting a screen, which happens to be the TV,
He did
on the hunting videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hell yeah, he was. But what are you doing, son? Well, I'm shooting the screen, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, let's not shoot that screen, son.
It didn't hurt it, did he?
Well,
No, it wasn't hurting anything, but I didn't know.
Eventually, it might.
Yeah.
So from that day forward, we had to get him some real arrows and put him about 4 feet away from the techno hunt, so he could actually shoot the real screen. You remember that?
I still can remember my 10-foot duct tape line or 10-yard duct tape line with my Brave bow that I used to shoot the screen with.
Well, you were shooting one closer than that at that time.
That's one of the few things I remember about the shop.
Yeah.
There's a distinct sound about an arrow hitting a glass TV screen.
Yeah.
Kind of like an arrow hitting a fluorescent light.
No, it's a little different than that.
Okay.
Not that any of us have ever done that,
No,
right,
no,
Jeff?
No.
I think I still have somebody's name in that
Yeah,
light.
you might.
Sure.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah, that was back, oh my gosh, 22 years ago, probably.
Yeah, a long time
Close
now.
to it.
I was just getting ready to say, you talking about that glass old tube TV, me shooting it. You're starting to make me sound kind of old, and I'm not even old.
Well, that was like, what the hell? I know what that sounds like, but surely not a pink. Are you serious? I'm walking in there and he's drawing a full draw on this freaking TV screen. You know,
Hey, and look at us now.
Jiminy Christmas.
Yep.
You reminded me of a story of one of my other stepkids, but now I've lost it. I can't.
Wasn't he used to get mad at him? I mean, heck, why not?
Well, that was, those kind of things, I think, even like I said, if you don't remember it, you take your kids hunting, whoever it is, and it does plant that seed like you were talking about, Jeff, and then eventually they come back to it. Because, I've always hunted and loved to hunt and done it as much as I could. But, I go off to school, and I didn't even think about doing anything deer hunting related for a job until COVID happens, and then that shuts the whole world down. And I think, you know what, I can go do deer hunting, and COVID can't shut that down. I went to school for business to go into a whole different world, and now here I'm doing this. And that all started with going hunting, being around the shop, being around the archery shop, tracking that deer with you and Richard.
Well, you've got a lot of resources that you can draw back from.
Some of them good, some of them,
And
not so good.
But the point is that you introduce the kids to that young, and not only, like you said, does it teach them the hunting part of it, but there's a lot of values that go with hunting that in a lot of other realms of life, people won't get. They might go left to their own devices. There's no telling what kids will come up with these days. I think it keeps them on a better path than they could be on, for sure. But we're kind of getting back on track as far as like this past season. I know you talked about some of your stuff. Maybe what was some of your favorite things about this past season?
Hey, the favorite thing about my past was I got a new hunting harness.
yeah.
Because
did you need that?
well, Lisa got tired of me trying to figure out the old one because the direction had worn off of it. It is so old. And,
we do not recommend using old safety harness.
It wasn't a one size fits all.
Oh yeah.
That's the problem.
No. There was nothing wrong with the harness. It was safe and all that stuff. It was just like which hold, which
It's
leg.
just the
It's one of
mentality
those-
the person putting it on.
It's one of those that comes with the stand, and they're not always the most user friendly.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So I did get that. That was one of my favorite parts. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got the old climber out, and I did the old Steel Summit climber I hadn't used in a long time, and checked it all out, and it checked out good. So I shimmied up a tree. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was
Then
fun.
we heard you shimmy down that night.
You did not.
Oh, the heck
It's
I
only
did.
because you were scared of. It's only because you were scared of the dark, and you get down way before I
No,
do.
it's because I had that doe out there going at me all the time.
Told you she was coming.
And you did.
It's hard to beat the new climbers for the weight and the user friendliness
yeah.
of them. But man, them old steel ones, it's hard to beat digging into a tree with them. Those suckers would sit in there.
Oh, I
you
could
would
half chop one down if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And they're noisy and they're heavy and the bootstraps ain't great and the seat ain't great, but man, do they dig into a tree good.
Yeah, there's no question.
The shoulder straps aren't great.
wasn't
They've come a
pulling
long
out
way.
of
But
Actually,
no.
I like my bootstraps on that better than I do those others.
Really?
Yeah, the bungees on the back.
Yeah.
I got to replace those now, but my foot don't don't slip out of them. There's no way that I can get my foot out there unless I reach down and pull that out.
Right.
I like that about that. It is a little heavy, but
you can't beat it when you get to the tree.
no,
when you get up in the tree.
I've climbed a shaggy bark hickory before and break enough bark off to fill a shed full, but I'm still digging in.
Yeah. But so that was, and we talked about a little bit about the quality of deer that are coming in, and
I was actually going to go. I wanted to go like still hunting today, but you didn't get off in time. And tomorrow might not be a bad deal if it snows. That might be pretty cool.
I don't think it's supposed to really snow until tomorrow night and Saturday. But you said season ends Sunday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you guys will be able to go. I'll have to be at work.
Can we go without you?
You don't want to go tomorrow?
I guess I'll let you this time. One time.
I appreciate it.
We could go tomorrow.
Just,
We could go tomorrow.
I got too much stuff I got to take care of tomorrow. I mean, seriously, I do.
I might try to get out one more time. That would be tomorrow afternoon.
No.
I think I'm going to duck hunt in the morning. But I'm going to try to get out one more time because I didn't get to do it today because I had to do some other stuff, which is, by the way, some cool stuff we got coming up with the business, the Rich Hunter Outdoors. One step closer to having the one-stop wildlife management store open. So you guys can keep up with all that stuff. We'll have it posted everywhere. But
well, heck, I didn't even know about that. That's news to me.
Yeah, well, we got stuff coming. Stuff's on the way.
Secrets from me.
Yeah, stuff's on the way. You've been working too much.
Yeah, well,
but that's what kept me from getting to go today. So I might try to go tomorrow afternoon just to get one more hunt in because there's that. There's always that. You never know.
You never know.
And I might shoot a doe just because I haven't shot one yet this year. And I probably need to.
I tell you what, back, we talked about that pistol season earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The first year we had pistol season, and then, following up, there's bucks that'll lose some of their antlers. It's always been an antlerless season, and I seen some really nice bucks without antlers through the years. Now, not all of them, but there are some really nice deer that lose their antlers.
Remember my neighbors when that first started? My neighbors, they don't own the ground now, but they did. It was family ground back in the day, and they just started hunting. And remember, they shot them deer and brought them up here, and like, okay, where's the horns? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, the horns was gone.
The bases were there.
Right. The pedestals was there, and you could see, and there's blood red.
Yeah.
Where they just lost them,
Yeah.
And then they went ahead and had them paid per taxidermy to have them mounted.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that do that. It's funny, you'll see guys that'll shoot them this time of year and they'll go and they'll lose an antler after they shoot them.
Oh, yeah.
Or they'll fall over and on the impact from hitting the ground loses them. But yeah, there's definitely some guys that I've talked to have already seen some dropping them. And there's some that are still hard enough to be fighting, obviously.
Well, you take, like last week, you got you got some deer that's in full rut, and then now you've got deer that are obviously losing antlers. There's from one end of the spectrum to the other right there.
Yep. But it's you got, this will be Friday when this comes out, so you got 2 more days left, Saturday and Sunday here in Illinois to bow hunt. Or if you're in the right county, you can late winter antlerless only, CWD, whatever it's called now, with your shotgun to fill some tags. But don't count out the last couple of days because you never know. If you're still hunting that one deer, he might show up.
There's guys, it depends on where they're at within this region, not only the county, but within the region. We've had guys in the shop that says they just had deer running all over them. Mm-hmm. They got to pick and choose, and they're picky, and then we've had guys that say, I shot the only thing I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So within our region, there are guys out there that are still trying to fill tags to put a little meat in the freezer.
Yeah.
As hard as that may seem for some folks, that's the truth around here. I've got guys right now that are going to go hunting this weekend to put meat in the freezer because they haven't had a good season yet.
And that's one thing about this year I thought was interesting is, and it happens a lot, but another good portion of the time it's pretty consistent across the board. If this guy's having a good year, then it's generally this guy's having a good year and this guy's having a good year. Seems like it's been pretty spotty where I think there has been a little bit of disease because there's been quite a few dead deer not to the amount we had before, not to that extent, but I think it depends on where you're at.
A little sporadic.
One guy will tell you, man, it's just been a tough season. We haven't hardly seen anything. It's been a weird season. Some of the guys I've talked to, as far as clients or potential clients, have been the same way. And then other guys will turn around and tell you, man, it's been the best year we ever had. Deer all over us, big deer, filled both tags, filled a really nice buck tag.
I don't know if there's been another year. I can't recall it right now if there's been another year that's been from one end to the other like this year. Mm-hmm. There's been, usually it's everybody's almost on the same page. And this year it's been from one end to the other. I don't know. I can't attribute that to anything.
Yeah, I don't know either. But like I said, it seems like it's like sporadic would be a good word for it.
It's sporadic.
Depending on where you're at. Because there's even just the different places I hunt, I saw better deer activity, buck activity on one property. And the other one I had maybe two pictures of good bucks all year this year. And that's a place that normally has 2 or 3 on it every year. Maybe not the same deer, but generally I'll have 2 or 3 pictures, 2 or 3 different nice bucks that'll come there and stay for a week or two, where this year it just didn't happen. No. But on the other property, had more than I normally do. So I think it definitely just depends on where you're at. And
did you ever check the cameras behind my house?
I got to go get it but it's not anything. I think December 1st. It'd be from December 1st to now. So we'll see what was on there from then.
Yeah.
But before that, mostly squirrels and some raccoons.
And my dog.
Yep. I didn't have any.
You had that little 8-pointer.
Yeah, we had that wide 10 and that little 8. Which that wide 10
tell me about the wide 10.
You saw pictures of him.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You're on a need-to-know basis.
Obviously.
You've seen him.
Since it's in my back door.
You don't need
He's
to
not I don't need to know he's in my back door, do I?
No.
Why do you think I built that fence around my back door to keep him out?
He's not real wide. I mean, he's wider than his ears, not really wide. You'd probably remember it if you saw the picture again.
Probably.
But and then that little 8. But and then, like I said, on the other property, there were for sure 2 shooters and another really, really nice 3.5-year-old on there this year. So if I'd have hunted one spot or the other all year, I'd have been the same way as those other guys. I could either had a really good year or a really bad year.
You know where me and you went that one evening up north town?
Yep.
Well, got hunts on the north side of the road from you.
Yeah.
Show me, I work with him. He showed me pictures of a buck he's got right there in that area. I'm sure he goes right there where me and you was at too.
Oh yeah.
But he was a double brow.
Yeah.
Or not double brow, but double main beam.
Yeah.
Really nice buck. And
that particular spot draws a lot of big deer up out in the bottoms.
Yeah.
During the rut especially.
Yep.
They'll run through there. And then it doesn't, like the property I'm hunting doesn't hold a lot of big deer. They will stay to the north and they'll stay down on the bottoms. But yeah, they do use it. And that's a spot that when I get to hunt it, if it's hot, it's hot. You want to be there. But if it's not, it's same thing.
They're behind my house.
Yeah.
When it's on, it's on. When it ain't, it ain't. And you just got to be lucky enough to hit the timing just right.
I would have liked to hunted behind your house a little more this year because I think might have had a crack at one of the deer your neighbor shot, which was not a monster deer, but 4.5-year-old buck would have been a decent deer for there. Yeah. But I'm sure he used it at some point or another.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't get him on camera.
I'd like to have my camera out there, but somebody pulled it for me.
I just brought it back so you could see the
Well, it's easier to pull the camera than it was the card.
Well, no, he pulled the card, left the Camry.
Oh. I took it back. You just didn't have one to swap out, so I brought the card back and took it back. Anyhow. You told me just to pull the camera.
No.
Yeah. After I brought the card. Anyway.
Yeah, after you brought the card. I didn't want you to pull the card.
Anyway,
this spring we're going to put a 3-acre food plot in there. Have corn, switchgrass, have a little bit of soybeans, maybe a little bit of milo. I had a guy that said that he has had some milo.
Oh, hell, why don't we just have posies and sunflowers?
I'd be interested to see.
And then we're put some clover and chicory mix in the middle of all that, and we'll see what happens.
It'd be, if nothing else, it's a good little test plot.
That's what I always used that for, was to I use the corn as a screen from the road. Naturally, I'll put that right up against the road and screen everything.
And there's enough of it around that even just planting the little amount you're planting, they're probably not going to hammer it. They didn't before.
No, they're not.
There's too much right beside it.
The coons and squirrels will work it over more than deer will.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a strip of switchgrass, and then I'll probably maybe a little bit, 3 or 4 rows of milo, some soybeans, and then up there more in the center towards the woods, away from the road, is where I'll have my clover and chicory.
We need to burn that switchgrass either.
We need to burn
February,
that
March, probably.
End of March,
Yeah.
right before spring green up. Yeah, that's when it needs to be burned.
But what's left there in that plot from your old plot, burn that off and get that. See what's going to come back there.
Right, and the switchgrass will come back. Actually, the fire helps the seeds that the switchgrass has dropped in last year and years before. The fire helps them to germinate.
Right.
I know people don't understand that. I don't understand the
science behind
science behind it, but it does. It gets them seeds to germinate. And so if you have switchgrass, and typically they tell you to wait 3 years, and then after the 3rd year, burn it off.
Right. Once you get it established.
Yep. Yeah. And then it'll come back thicker. And I'm here to tell you, I've had switchgrass there for
years.
12 years.
Yeah.
And when you burn it off, it does actually come back thicker and better.
And that's not to say you have to burn it.
No,
because a lot of guys don't have the ability. You can mow it.
You can,
but
and
that's a big fad there. Like this past year, we saw a lot. Like it looks really cool to put on Instagram and Facebook or whatever that you're burning everything.
Yeah,
don't just burn for the sake of burning.
Well, there are places that you can't.
Right.
There are permits. Some places you have to have permits to burn.
We actually can't, as a business, go and burn for anybody. We could, but the minimum liability on it is ridiculous.
Right.
Could not make it worth it. And then I have to be certified as the lead contractor on it through the state of Illinois, which is another pain on top of all that.
Anytime you deal with Illinois is a pain on top of that.
Yeah, pretty much.
But if you're going to burn for a reason.
Right.
Make sure you have your permits. Make sure what the county ordinances are or your fire protection ordinances are. And it can happen, and it's not a bad thing.
No.
But don't, like you say, don't just burn because you've seen it on YouTube or TikTok, and it's a hell of a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, I know the fire chief and stuff, and so I think I can get away with it and have resources there if I need them available at the time. But, if you can legally do it and safely do it, fire is a good tool when it comes to food plots and habitat management.
And we're getting to the time of the year to start thinking about that. Like it's middle of January, so within the next, depending on what you're doing, we're already getting into frost seeding time for clover and stuff into your established plots. And even if you're starting new plots, you can go in and sow that clover seed. I'm interested, kind of excited for this next year because I know you got that project going, maybe possibly another small project on the new property, and then I would really like to get in on over there at the cabin and do kind of almost a remodel of part of it to see, because like I said, this year was kind of a bust as far as deer go on that where it normally isn't, but it doesn't hold deer anyway, so even if I go in and change something, it's not going to hurt me too much, I don't think. But I'd like to go in and do some stuff there. I got plans to do that. So I'm pretty excited for what's coming as far as this management season and then seeing the fruits of your labor next deer season.
Right.
And those, especially those 2 projects on yours. I think that new piece, what we talked about before of putting that food right there in that transition, that you could really see some benefits of that. Daytime use of that before they hit the crop field at night.
Yeah.
Coming off of the bedding on the public.
Well, we know that they move out of the pines that they use for bedding, and they cross into the hardwoods before they go to the public ground for food and stuff. And so, but they don't really stall out in that.
Right.
What is that? Maybe 20 yards wide.
Yeah.
At most.
Yeah.
They don't really stall out there. They just pass through it. And so my thoughts is if I can put a small food plot in there, and it's going to be maybe half an acre at most, put a half-acre plot in there, have me a stand-up for the wind direction and stuff. When they come out of there, maybe that will stop them long enough.
Yeah.
Where I can get a good look at them and decide if I want to take this deer or not.
And right now, they don't have much reason to get up out of the pines any earlier than they need to
right
before dark to get up and go feed the field.
Yeah.
If you put that plot in, I think you'll probably see them get up even
I think
a little
see
earlier.
More deer daylight action.
Yeah, and because they'll have a reason to get up earlier, go hit that little feeding plot, holding plot, and then go out to the main.
Yeah, and
field.
where that's going to be at, they're going to be protected from the road and stuff. Nobody's going to be able to see them.
No, not in there.
They'll have woods on two sides of them and crop fields on the other two sides of them. So they'll be hidden and secure. And I think they'll be, as long as the guy doesn't overhunt it and
be smart about
pressure
your wind
too
and
much,
stuff,
and be smart about it. I think they'll feel protected and comfortable in there. And if you play it right, I think you'll have a good shot.
Yeah,
at a mature buck.
Yeah.
So
I'll be interested to see not just what you see on while you're hunting, but what comes on the camera too, because you get that thing out there. We'll have a really good idea how much it's helping or hurting.
Yeah,
it won't hurt anything, but how much it's actually changing it.
But yeah,
it'll be cool to see. I think because they're, like you said, they're already using it, which is something we knew when we went and scouted that property. We're like, okay,
well, that's
this
why
is,
we put the camera there.
Yeah, this is going to be a place where you're going to maybe have a crack at one. Yeah. And sure enough, they use it. I mean, you got videos of them.
They use it.
And you've seen them on the hoof, So that's one thing for you guys that it may be scouting, whether you got a new property or public ground or you're looking for new places on your ground now. If you can find those transitions, like this one in particular goes from the pine plantings into hardwoods, and there's a hard transition between those.
Yeah, about a 20-yard strip of grass and weeds and stuff.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be even a 20-yard strip. Just if you can find that edge where it goes from one type of cover or habitat to the other, man, that's a really good spot to be. Because, deer creatures at the edge, and it doesn't have to be just an edge of a field.
Right.
It can be the edge between pine trees and hardwoods.
And that's what a lot of people fall into. Then when they think edges, they think, well, okay, edge of woods to a field.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. It doesn't always work that way. Yeah. Actually, that's one of the worst edges you can hunt, in my opinion. Just because
it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the best edges you can hunt is from in this situation, from pines to hardwoods, or from hardwoods to a thicket.
Yeah, some kind of cover
before it goes to a field.
Or like an inside corner, even where they got that
inside corner
where those edges come together and they funnel them.
I love inside corners. And deer do too. That's just.
And an edge can even be, but a cornfield and a bean field. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's an edge there. There's a different level in height.
Yep.
That's an edge for the deer to walk. It's just, and that's one thing we shoot for on consultations, like what we've done before, especially with there in Kentucky. There was so much. Essentially, what he had when we first went out there was he had one edge around the outside, and we went in and put the grain and the switchgrass and the food plots, and we created edges in the middle, edges on the inside, around the outside of that main field, and then you still got the regular edges on the outside, plus what we let grow up. And we've done that in other places too.
You created at least 4-fold edges.
Yeah,
from
at least.
At least, maybe 6-fold.
Yep. And the improvement we saw in wildlife activity just from being there in
even small game.
Yeah, from January, February, whatever it was, to July, August.
Oh, we didn't see nothing when we went and walked that the first time. When I went and mowed that with him, you can't imagine quail and rabbits, doves came flogging out of that.
Yeah, just a few months before when we first walked that, we didn't see none of that stuff.
Nothing.
There was no sign of any of that.
A couple deer running out of that bedding area, but as far as small game, birds, nothing. And the amount of deer, they were obviously using it, but like the guy was telling us, not during daylight. I think, and it's just, it's kind of cool how much you can affect just by giving them the proper cover and food and what they need. You're going to have effects not just on the deer, but on all other kinds of wildlife too.
Right.
That if you're interested in hunting that stuff or not, it makes sitting in a tree easier because it's fun to watch quail and turkeys and rabbits too. It gives you something to do at least.
Well, not only that, you just know that you're helping.
Yeah,
nature, all in all, because nature's just one big circle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you kind of help connect the dots to that circle. And you can laugh at me all you want to, there are people, but it's just, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're helping the ecosystem.
You're helping the whole ecosystem. You're not just helping one species or another.
Even if you're just doing it for deer, like I
Right.
said, it's amazing the whole overall improvement that you can have. And that's what I was talking to a guy today about. He had expressed some interest in doing something with his property, and he's not even a hunter. He just enjoys watching wildlife. And he's he actually works for somebody who is involved with wildlife quite a bit, so it's not like he's against hunting. But he just wants more wildlife to watch and stuff. So he expressed interest in having us maybe set him up something.
No.
And I told him that a lot of times what we do is for deer, because there's more deer hunters out there than anything else, but you can implement a similar plan for that, and you'll improve your deer numbers and everything else as well. It just by providing what they need. You go in and see what's already there on the hierarchy of things they need, being that food and cover, and down from there.
It all goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and then finding out, what you have on your property, what you lack the most, and working from there. So it's really cool to see, in my opinion, how much change you can have, even within a few months span.
Especially the smaller stuff. The cover means a whole lot to smaller game because of, not only coyotes, but from hawks.
Yep.
From above.
Now we're seeing eagles here.
And they're all predators, and so it was kind of neat to see that stuff come run. We never mowed it because he wasn't able to burn it, and he got a little weedy on him. We went in there and mowed it to bring the switchgrass back up.
Yep.
And there was a lot of smaller game in there that we didn't see the first 2 times we were there. Yep. We didn't see walking it. We didn't see coming back, and when we went and planted it,
everything. Yeah.
And that we come back and mowed that, and huge difference.
Yep.
Huge difference.
Yeah. And a lot of that particular property was cover, which is the 2 things that are highest on the list for deer and wildlife in general. Food and cover is what a lot of properties are lacking, especially the guys we work with. Crop fields are great, but there is so much more nutrition that a deer needs or that wildlife need than just corn and beans. Not only that, those are destination food. Feed fields where they're going to be out there at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go in and add food to your property, even though you've got 100 acres of beans on the neighbors, you're still going to see a huge difference. And then you add cover on top of that, it'll make a big difference in that. And we're getting to the time of year where it's time to start thinking about that. Which reminds me, we do have a consultation giveaway going on. So,
but
you guys can go to
You're not eligible.
RichHunterOutdoors.com, and you can go to the consulting and management tab. Go to the bottom. There's a get a quote field. If you fill it out, and then at the bottom where it says service requested, put in consultation giveaway. That'll get you entered, and we'll draw actually on Saturday. So tomorrow. So you've got today and tomorrow to get in.
I better get in, right?
Yeah. And then
no,
there's nothing like being in.
Yeah, both of us are usually out. So
if you get in that, then you got a chance to win a free consultation with us, where we'll give you it'll be the whole deal. Even if you don't win, you qualify for special pricing on a consultation. So we'll contact you about that. And the other thing is the big buck contest. If you guys are in that, you've got a couple more days to kill one, but that'll be wrapping up after Sunday. So currently Nate is the leader, being that he's not officially a member of the Ridge Hunter Outdoors team. He helps with us with the podcast, but he's in the lead right now. Trevor Lawrence, I hope I didn't get his name wrong, the last name wrong, but he's in second place with a 171. I think Nate's was 173. Nate's was 178.
That's not a bad second place.
Yeah,
No,
Nate's was
it's not.
178 and 4/8, and then I can't remember third place. I want to say Sean Mitchell's in third place right now. So those guys are looking in pretty good shape. So, but those are the
congratulations to both of them. I mean,
yeah,
all three.
If it shakes out,
all three of them. Yeah. Well, actually, anybody that entered and placed in the
we appreciate you guys entering that too, because it's that's for the first year we done exceeded my expectations for it, and I really appreciate everybody that got into that. So hopefully, and we'll do it again next year. The entry will be a little different, but we'll still kind of do the same deal. Have some cool prizes for you guys. So, and I'm curious to see.
Hey, I seen the T-shirts. Them are pretty cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
Those will be going out early next week. Yes. I'll drop those in the mail early.
Did I get one of those?
If you want one.
Now, Sick Ink done him a solid
Sick
on
Ink.
that. Yeah, done him solid on
I've
that.
heard of them.
Yeah.
Well, they're close.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
They done him a solid on that. They're good shirts.
Well, you can find them here in downtown Wayne City.
Mm-hmm. Along with everything else. Yeah. Which, actually, if you guys are going to be paying attention to the opening of the shop that we're going to have, it's going to be all in the same building. So if you need some T-shirts, you can come in and get some T-shirts while you get your food plots.
There's a connection.
Now we're cooking with peanut oil.
That's right. Yeah. I did not know that.
I did not either. I'm glad you cleared that up for me.
Yeah. And that's not only that, on top of that, if you guys do go to the website.
That could be just a sliding door away.
It could be. Yeah. It might actually be. I'm not sure.
Might quite literally be. But nonetheless, those are ways that you guys can support us. And if you go to ridgehunteroutdoors.com, we've got it's all wildlife management focused now. If you do come in when the store's open, we'll have some archery stuff still and some other hunting equipment.
Don't you have some archery stuff on sale for 50%
I do.
15%
off if you come in. Until the end of January, we're running an end-of-season sale.
Yeah.
So, but that's another way you guys can support. Go there, go to ridgehunteroutdoors.com. We're going to bring on some new seed companies, too. That's exciting. And we're going to have some other ways for you guys to support us. We're working on getting a few sponsors for the podcast. I know not everybody likes listening to ad reads, but I would not be reaching out to these people to help us on the podcast and to promote their products had we not worked with them before and liked what they put out there. So we're working on getting some of that for you guys, and there'll be a benefit in it for you too. We'll have some discounts for you guys to get, which I think is pretty cool. So be on the lookout for that stuff. We're going to try to hopefully get to some outdoor expos. I know there's one in Kentucky this weekend that we've been to before that we're missing out on. We were talking a little bit before the podcast. I've been trying to get to Bloomington to the Deer and Beer Fest for 2 years, but they've canceled it for 2 years.
No. They probably ran out of beer.
No,
I was going to say the beer or the deer.
COVID.
No.
Yeah, that's what's canceled it for 2 years.
Corona.
Well, me and you run up there,
Yeah.
Yeah. I've not.
You know what the likelihood is.
When I went up there, I think it was in Peoria. Was that not where it started at?
The Deer and Beer Fest was a different one.
I think it was started in Peoria and then went to Bloomington and then they moved it somewhere else now, I'm pretty sure.
And then one time I was in Carbondale or Marion. They had a Southern Illinois Expo down there one time.
Well, that's at John A. Logan.
Yeah, they got that there now.
Okay.
It's over at Johnny Logan.
Where's that?
And then they got another one that they just started, 10 years ago. It's supposed to be over at, or by O'Fallon.
Collinsville. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to try to, I'm hopefully going to get us out to some shows. We're going to try to get in Iowa. We'll see how that shakes out. If we do get that, we'll keep you guys updated. You can come see us there. We might do an on-site podcast, depending on what all happens with that.
Oh, I'm thinking if we get it on one of them shows, we're going to do an on-site podcast.
We might as well. We might get some cool guests on there, too.
Fun we're going to have there.
Yeah, we might get some cool guests on there.
You think this is fun. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yep, that's right. But
especially if we get in the Beer and Deer Fest. I mean, come on.
Yep.
Do they have cabs there?
I'm sure they do. They probably have one running a route, a shuttle route from there to the
podcast
hotel.
in the same building as the hotel.
Well, it can be.
It probably should be.
We can do it wherever we want.
Oh no,
we'll have to podcast from the show.
Hey, I've been to those shows.
ATA is just I don't know if it's wrapped up yet or not, but it was just going on this past week.
I've been to several of those.
Yeah.
In fact, I've been to several of those.
They ain't seen nothing yet. We arrive on scene.
Anyway, we won't be the only ones there podcasting, but it'll be a good time.
Yeah, we'll have fun.
So if we get up there, that's if we make it. We're going to try to get to some of those. So that's just kind of...
Don't you know the way?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's some...
You got GPS, right?
Yeah.
I've been to Iowa.
Google Maps?
Yeah.
I've been to Iowa a couple times.
Have you? I've been there once.
I was there once for a ball game. Well, maybe more than that. And then I was there once. I sold deer hides up there one time.
I was there once and never found my way back.
Yep.
I
could see how that
That's
happened.
I ain't got time to tell you the deer hide story, but one of these days I will.
Well, one of these days.
So that's nonetheless kind of some of the stuff we got, some updates with what's going on here. And like I said, if you guys want to keep up with that, we're Ridge Hunter Outdoors on Facebook, at Ridge Hunter OD on Instagram, and then at Ridge Hunter OD on Twitter. I'm not very good about keeping up with the Twitter thing, but Instagram and Facebook generally post on there pretty frequently. So you guys can keep up with us there, all that good stuff going on. Like I said, we got some cool guests coming up too over the next month. So hopefully we didn't bore you on this podcast. We've been wanting to do this type of format for a while where we just kind of drink some Pabst Blue Ribbon and talk about some stories and and hunt.
I mean, let's keep
and break
it honest.
down the season.
We ain't hiding nothing from nobody.
That's
all
right.
Adults.
Yep. So thanks for listening, guys. We'll have another one out next week. I think Nate will be back. We might have a full crew again next week if Jeffrey can get here. So anyway, look out for that. We'll have the guest on next week too, so that'll be cool. Really cool guy. I think it'll be a good podcast. We'll talk about maybe some public land stuff, some big wood stuff out where he is at. So like I said, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you again next Friday.